Somebody assembled a heist crew for a real-time strategy game. Walk through the room with me. The lead versus designer is Kat, a StarCraft 2 pro. The balance designer is Scarlet, one of the best competitive StarCraft players who have ever lived, full stop. There's a co-op lead who came up making mods. There's a campaign consultant whose whole YouTube channel is just him lovingly explaining StarCraft lore to strangers for hours. And then the door opens and in walks a guy who helped build Homeworld and co-founded Relic. And he sits down, cracks his knuckles and goes, I'll do the mix. That's a real team. That game is real. It's called ZeroSpace. And the pitch is exactly what you'd expect from a room like that. Take StarCraft, bolt a Mass Effect campaign onto the side of it, add a galaxy map, you slowly conquer one planet at a time, and make your choices matter. I want to believe I do, but I've seen this exact movie before. I watched it die in real time, and before we talk about the new one, I need to show you the body. Stick with me because the autopsy is kind of the whole point. So here's what ZeroSpace actually is. It started as one guy, Marv Guo, building a StarCraft successor more or less by himself, before it grew into a studio called Starlance, about 15 people plus a co-developer. They kickstarted it back in 2023 and tripled the goal, which is the kind of number that gets a whole genre to perk up. 3 pillars: a cinematic single-player campaign with RPG choices, a persistent co-op mode called the Galactic War, where everybody chips away at one big seasonal conflict on a shared map, and straight-up competitive skirmish, a 1v1 ladder designed by people who play this stuff at a level you and I will never touch. The combat is top-down classic RTS. You're the Protectorate, humanity, and you are mostly fighting big swarms of bugs, which sure, Starship Troopers. We've all made our peace with the bug thing. 4 main factions, 6 mercenary factions on top of that, a robot faction called the Zal they've barely shown. You fly around in an upgradable mothership, you recruit a crew, you build relationships with that crew, and that last part is where the record scratches, because this isn't just an RTS with a story stapled on. They want loyalty missions, they want dialogue trees, they want crew relationships and faction alliances that shift based on what you do. 15 main story missions, 10 hero loyalty missions, a pile of side arcs. It's StarCraft if every Marine wanted to grab coffee with you and talk through some stuff from their childhood first. And the headline promise, the one printed on the box, the one in every trailer, is your decisions determine the fate of the galaxy. Okay, no. Read that one with me again. Your decisions determine the fate of the galaxy. I need you to hold on to that sentence. We're coming back to it, and when we do, it's going to get genuinely stupid. But first, the body. Let me step sideways for a second, because you cannot talk about a stacked StarCraft successor in 2026 without talking about the last stacked StarCraft successor, Stormgate. Frost Giant Studios, led by a guy who literally ran production on the StarCraft franchise at Blizzard, veterans top to bottom. It was going to be the next generation RTS. It was going to save the genre. It had the pedigree, it had the hype, it had a mountain of crowdfunding. It launched into early access in 2024 and peaked around 5,000 players. Then it hit 1.0 and dropped to about 1,000. Then it kept dropping. By the end of 2025, it was struggling to hold 100 concurrent players. There were days the peak was under 30. The CEO got on LinkedIn to describe his own game as, and I'm paraphrasing only slightly, spectacularly unsuccessful. And then, earlier this year, Stormgate started losing its online multiplayer, not because of a hack, not because they ran out of money mid-sentence, because the company that ran their servers got bought by an AI company, and the servers just went away. A competitive multiplayer game that lost the multiplayer because somebody upstream pivoted to AI. That's not a failure, that's a Greek tragedy with a Steam page. So that's the graveyard ZeroSpace is walking into. Same dream team pitch, same we're going to revive RTS energy, same crowdfunding glow, and I am watching a brand new group of legends march up to the exact same plate that just struck out swinging. Now, the galaxy thing. Remember the sentence, your decisions determine the fate of the galaxy. We have been sold that exact promise for 15 years. Mass Effect told you for 3 entire games that every choice was building toward an ending that was yours and yours alone, and then you got to the end and your reward for 100 hours of agonizing was 3 buttons. Red, green, blue. Same cutscene, different color filter. The fate of the galaxy came in a paint sample. That's the trap. Choices matter is the easiest thing in the world to put in a trailer and the hardest thing in the world to actually build. And the people who have already gotten hands on ZeroSpace are quietly saying the quiet part. The choices look like they're mostly cosmetic. You pick the dialogue, the campaign mostly shrugs and continues, which would be fine for any other RTS. Nobody played StarCraft for branching morality, but you don't get to put the fate of the galaxy on the poster and then hand me a haircut menu. Stack it up, a genre that's a graveyard, a promise that's broken in every game that's ever made it, a team that, however talented, is competing against the ghost of the last team this talented. That's a lot of red flags flying over one Kickstarter. So let me actually get a little bit more serious here for a second because I don't want this to come off as a hit piece, and it would be easy to just leave it there. And here's the thing I keep snagging on. One guy decided to do this. In 2023, Marv looked at a genre that the entire industry had quietly written off as commercially dead, a genre kept alive mostly by a 20-year-old game, and the people refused to let go of it, and he decided it deserved one more real shot. And then somehow he convinced a Homeworld legend, a co-founder relic, to show up and rebuild the entire look of the game from scratch. He convinced actual pros, people with nothing left to prove, to design the thing for free love. Nobody does that for the money. There's no money in RTS. That's the whole problem. You do that because somewhere back there, the first story that ever felt enormous to you was a campaign mission with the subtitles on, a briefing room, a map, a voice telling you the fate of something rested on the next 20 minutes, and you spent the rest of your life trying to feel that again. That's not a content strategy, that's a person. And I have a soft spot for people who keep building cathedrals in a city that stopped going to church. So I'm not rooting against ZeroSpace, I'm rooting against the sentence on the poster. All right, sentiments over, back to it, because I have to tell you about the rest of the content promise, which is genuinely unhinged in the best way. You upgrade a mothership, you manage crew loyalty, you're running side story arcs for individual hero units. At some point, you stop playing StarCraft and start playing a galactic dating sim with tank rushes. It is Animal Crossing with a body count, and I am not entirely against it. And the Galactic War mode, the seasonal co-op thing, is basically an MMO bolted to an RTS, which is either the most ambitious idea in the genre this decade or the exact kind of feature that's still in development and when the servers get sold to an AI company. Well, we'll find out. And here's where I land. There's a free demo during Steam Next Fest, June 15th through the 22nd. Then early access drops July 20th. Play the demo, wishlist it if it's your thing. Do not pre-order anything on Fives and a good resume, because that resume is exactly what Stormgate had. Judge the actual game with your actual hands, and quietly in the corner of my dead little heart, I hope it's great. But if July 20th comes out and your decisions determine the fate of the galaxy turns out to be Mass Effect 3 wearing a trench coat, 3 buttons and a color filter, I will make the angriest video of my entire life, and every one of you is invited. If this video showed up while you were supposed to be installing a game you'll never finish, do the like, hit subscribe. The genre needs the numbers, and so do I. And tell me in the comments, what's a game you are rationally rooting for right now against all available evidence? The one your brain says don't, and your wallet's already reaching for. I want the name and I want the excuse. Take care of yourselves, watch your posture, and don't let the grind break you. Peace.